What's going on, everyone? So I'm really excited to see kind of what the Spurs are this upcoming season. I think they're going to be a very good, very young, very talented team that I do believe will at least make the play-in, and I want them to at least make the play-in. Right? Maybe they stumble face first into, say like the 6th seed or something like that. Every year, there are those teams that people believe are going to be really good that whatever, through injuries or just chemistry or whatnot, end up not being very good. And then there's those teams that people think are going to be, play-in teams or kind of like, more towards the bottom that end up being pretty good, right? And I think the Spurs could be one of those teams that kind of meet in the middle, right? I think that, there's really like 6, 7 teams that I think you could really make an argument for that are probably going to be better than the San Antonio Spurs. So I look at the Spurs somewhere in that like 8 range, right? But can they kind of take strides beyond that, right? What is the biggest kind of red flag right now with the San Antonio Spurs? And in my opinion, it's the shooting, right? Going into the offseason, it was the big man position, center position, getting a guy that could play kind of the 4 or 5, getting a guy that could play the 5, and they solved that. Got Luke Cornett, got Kelly Olynyk via trade. So I really like that they solved those issues. They have the wing depth. They have plenty of guard depth, too much. They're going to have to make some decisions at some point, right? But kind of go across the board with this roster. And it's like, okay, well, what's the biggest kind of flaw to this team? And I think the glaring hole is shooting, right? Like your best three-point shooter is Harrison Barnes. Devin Vassell, he can have some moments. He's had some decent seasons, some decent stretches, but he can kind of be hot and cold at times. Victor Wembanyama is incredibly streaky. Now, again, what does he look like as far as strides in year 3? Maybe he's improved. Maybe he's better. Stephon Castle, he was not great last season, but again, what does he kind of take as strides? Can he start knocking down threes with more consistency? De'Aaron Fox isn't a great three-point shooter. Jeremy Sohan is basically non-existent. Dylan Harper was not very good in college, right? Is he going to translate well in the NBA? Probably not. Not yet, at least. Obviously, as he grows, develops, and progresses, right? So I worry about the defense overall. It's like, okay, well, who are your kind of designated shooters? Like Harrison Barnes, Julian Champagnie, right? Or the guys that really can knock down the 3 ball. Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. But again, like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson can be a little streaky at times. Julian Champagnie started off like lights out in fuego, but then kind of the law of average kicked in and he kind of balanced out. Harrison Barnes was pretty much the most consistent guy. You could kind of clock him in throughout the course of the season. He's also the veteran, right? So there's context that matters. He's also the veteran. He's been there, done that, knows and plays his role well, and has been that building block and stability for many teams, right? So that it makes sense that he would be that guy with a young team. But I'd like to see them go, like, I don't want them to necessarily just go get a guy that's a shooter, right? Like, and that's essentially it. You kind of want a guy that gives you a mix or balance. But that's why I kind of like the idea of, like, can you go the veteran route, go get maybe like a veteran 3-and-D wing, somebody that just, wants to get some minutes, kind of play a role, kind of maybe can help develop some of the young guys and help improve their 3-point shooting. I mean, it's like, okay, like who could you get, right? Like who's available that is out there, right? You can take a flyer on some of these like undrafted guys, right? Like Summer League, couple guys in Summer, like Cole Swider has been the best 3-point shooter in Summer League thus far. He's, older, is, played with Miami, played with the Lakers. Like, could you maybe bring him in if the Lakers don't sign him to a 2-way or something like that? Could you maybe bring him in on a 2-way, kind of see, right? Like, can he kind of find that stroke amongst the Spurs? Also with guys like De'Aaron Fox, you want the shooting around him, right? Like, one of the problems that Sacramento had was the lack of understanding of what you need alongside De'Aaron Fox. It wasn't that long ago, Sacramento was, the 2 seed looked like a team that was the promising young, maybe they win a championship in a year or 2, and ended up botching it because they were like, we need more scoring. No, you need shooting. You need 3-and-D wings. Right? Like what they should have done, instead of going and getting DeMar DeRozan and these guys, should have been the team trying to go get a Mikal Bridges and an OG Anunoby. Right? All of a sudden, it's like now you've got the 3-and-D wing depth alongside De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. But they chose not to go that route, and it ruined that team. Well, you look at the Spurs, and Spurs are very similar, right? Now, obviously, Victor Wembanyama, I'd take him over Sabonis and what Victor Wembanyama can do on both sides of the basketball. But, you look at Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox, like, okay, well, what do you need alongside them? 3-and-D shooting, right? 3-and-D wings. Even if at some point you move off of De'Aaron Fox and bring in, Dylan Harper as like the guy with the ball, and it's Dylan Harper and Victor Wembanyama. Guess what you need? 3-and-D shooting, right? Like you need the wing depth, you need the perimeter, right? So my concern is just during the regular season, I think they'll be fine. Right, like during the regular, because you could, if their defense is good enough and their offense is good enough, right? Even if they're like middle of the pack, they'll be good enough to get into the play-in, or maybe, like I said, maybe even fall face first into the playoffs. It's like with the new play-in system in particular, right? It's easy to get in there, which is why I want to see them get into at least the play-in, because once you get there, you never know. Especially if they're like, the 7th, 8th seed. You only got to win one game. You got 2 tries and you're in the playoffs. That'd be great. Can you finish in like that 8 range? But I do worry, particularly come playoff time, where it's like, hey, you're going to need that shooting to kind of spread teams out. You're going to need that shooting to be able to, because De'Aaron Fox, he wants to operate in that mid range. He wants to operate and kind of live in that office space, right? And then also apply the rim pressure and whatnot. Wemby, he wants to stretch the floor and do all those things. But again, you have all these guys that are streaky. So, teams come playoff time, if the Spurs are terrible shooting the 3 ball, and again, maybe they won't be, right? Maybe Fox is, it continues to improve and get better. Maybe Wemby is not as streaky as he was last year, right? Maybe Stephon Castle ends up, finding an offensive, shooting stroke, right? Like, again, I don't want to just like write them off, but if, unless they take some real strides, I don't know how great they're going to be shooting the 3 ball. And once they get into the play-in or come playoff time, teams are just going to kind of pack the paint, pack that, 15-foot area where De'Aaron Fox likes to operate, right? Teams will live with, hey, Wemby wants to make 10 threes and beat us. Good luck, right? Like, if De'Aaron Fox wants to take 7 threes, good luck. We'd rather that than him getting in the teeth of the defense, right? Teams are going to operate as if you can't shoot the 3 ball, teams are just going to pack the paint. And now you're going to have to operate through all of that. And it just makes things a lot more challenging. So if I was the Spurs, I would be looking to try to add some level of shooting to this team. Even if it's not just necessarily for this season, even if you just go get a guy that, is a shooter that can, kind of help develop and grow some of these young guys and work on their shooting stroke and whatnot, right? But, because again, like this team doesn't need much. It's just kind of, you're banking on just like what strides do the young guys take, right? What strides do like Wemby and Castle and, impact Dylan Harper has right out the gate and so on and so forth to kind of determine and dictate where you're at, right? Like where are you as far as the scale goes of where you can land in the Western Conference. We'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me not. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.